Mama's Twitter chat.
This ain't your mama's Twitter chat. Hey, everybody, if you're catching us live, I'm Martha Bongiorno, and I'm a library media specialist in Richmond Hill, Georgia. I've done elementary and middle school, if you didn't know that. And then my friend down here, Robin, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Robin and Thompson, Crazy Miss T on Twitter, and I teach at Richmond Hill High School and was in the English classroom, and now I always have this long spiel. They call me a media specialist, but I work more technology. I have no books where I work, so, like in the space I use. So I call myself a tech instigator. Martha and I kind of created that term instigator. So we kind of like instigate some action.
Hey, everybody, if you're catching us live, okay, hold on. I am in Richmond Hill, technical difficulties, guys. I hear ourselves talking. Didn't know that. There we go. Sorry, I had the YouTube chat live up, just seeing what was going to happen, and then I heard myself starting to talk, and that was just weird.
Like the echo effect.
Yeah, it was the echo effect. But I love you, Miss Robin Thompson, because even though you say that you don't have books in your library, you have ebooks, and you do.
I do have ebooks. I do.
And you do a lot of the components that are part of the Future Ready Librarian Framework. So don't cut yourself short. You are an instigator, period.
Yes, I am. In lots of ways.
Which we all love about you. So what we're going to do tonight, friends, Georgia Lab Chat friends, I'm going to try to screen share. And Robin and I are just going to tell you some of our favorite apps, resources, and websites for the Future Ready Librarian Framework. And of course, we have at the very end of everything, the link to the spreadsheet that we are keeping track on. We're opening it for y'all to edit it, add to it, so this can be a collaborative effort so that everybody can have access to it. All right, so if you give me a second, I am about to have the, what did I call it earlier? The boxes of death?
Oh, the infinity boxes.
Yeah, it makes me think of Moana. Death.
Like this. Yeah.
There we go. All right, so yeah, there it is. Let me get to there. See, I was talking.
There we go.
Ta-da!
Yay!
It's still cut off from earlier. I don't know why, but this is Georgia LibChat Future Ready Librarian app Smash Breakdown. All right, and Robin, do you want to talk more about this one?
I can talk about this one. So when I say that in a space without books, so we at our high school, we have grown super fast, and they built a new middle school, and we took over the middle school space, which is directly behind our current high school. And I took their media center and turned it into a digital learning lab. We didn't really want to have two separate media centers on our campus and divide our collection or anything like that. So in perfect world, the media center that we actually have, I call it the stacks, would be with what I have. It's called the link. So I link education with technology. So I built a digital learning lab, and media centers should have both of those. But because of space and the way our school's configured right now to build the new one, I'm in a totally separate space. So I had the opportunity to use, to really design a collaborative space about 5 years ago. So Google SketchUp is one of the first tools that I would say is very, very effective. It's a little persnickety at first to work with, but it has great tutorials, and it will give you a 3-dimensional layout as well as like a 2-dimensional kind of overhead. So it helped us to take our space and really put it to scale and see how much furniture we could put in there, because we literally gutted the entire place, bookshelves and everything. And so we had this huge space to work with, and Google SketchUp really helped us to do that, to utilize our space wisely and play with it before we actually put furniture in. Smart Draw is something I've used more recently. I would say it's probably a little more user-friendly. I've actually am taking one part of the space we have now to really branch out our maker space. And so I've used Smart Draw for that because it is such a smaller space. I didn't need the full space like SketchUp does. And then Pinterest. Our school actually blocked Pinterest for a while because I think teachers were just probably on it quite often, just because it's
putting it nicely.
Yeah, and it's like a squirrel, you know, like the rabbit hole, you go down it and you just get lost. But when our superintendent met with me when we were doing the link, he said, well, do you have like some ideas? Do you have some things you can show me? And I said, well, if you get Pinterest unblocked, I can show you the storyboard. I kind of had a board already pinned with some ideas, paint chips, things like that. So in about 30 minutes, Bryan County school system got Pinterest back on. And so I always like to credit myself for that, but I'm sure there was other reasons to put it back up. But Pinterest is, I mean, we all know how marvelous it is. And I've used it for the link. And I've also used it when we've started to update some of our media center space, just to kind of get some new tables and collaborative spaces there as well. I use Pinterest. I'm in charge of prom. We all know what Pinterest can do. So as far as an educational tool, it's so useful to see other people's ideas on Pinterest, as well as pin your own ideas and get feedback from other people. So as far as designing collaborative spaces for future ready librarians, these are some really cool tools to use. Again, SketchUp's going to be more for in-depth projects that you really want to see three-dimensional and really have a blank slate and see how furniture is going to work before you actually buy it. Smart Draw, maybe smaller spaces, and then Pinterest just for everything.
So jumping off what you were talking about, Robin, if you haven't checked out her website yet for the link, at the end of this presentation, I put her website. Her space is amazing. It's wonderful how flexible everything is, and it's designed specifically for the Future Ready framework right here. The only thing that I'd like to add in is that when it says use of space and time, and that's something that I've kind of struggled with recently being in an elementary library, is with this concept of flexible time. And sometimes, and I know in Georgia this is happening a lot with our students, and budget cuts and things, that we're becoming more of a technology teacher, like specials rotation. And so I would add advocacy tools on here using data and things like that to kind of back up why your space is important, and so is your time. So,
and I will say that the one benefit at our high school currently is that we do have 2 separate spaces. So teachers that really need the books for, if a world history teacher is doing a project and they can rely on books because it's, you know, historical facts, then yes, we have computers in our media center too. But if they're needing more current information where the books aren't necessary, our teachers have 2 spaces to be able to sign up for. So that helps with our time, I guess, as well, as we just use a lab scheduler and we're on a block schedule.
Yeah, that sounds great. All right, I think the next, well, this wedge in general, the blue wedge, the teal wedge, whatever you want to call it, I think this is where Robin and I shine the most, I think. So we're going to start with building instructional partnerships. And this is the key to everything that I do in my library. And I think Robin might agree that it's a very important aspect of what we do as librarians. And so the apps and the websites and the resources we put on here kind of help you plan and communicate and collaborate with the teachers in your building. The biggest one I think most people use in Bryan County is the G Suite apps. So Google Docs, Slides, Forms, the fact that you can collaborate and add comments. That's how Robin and I do Georgia Lib Chat every month, is through our Google Drive folder and all of that. So I think that's extremely important. When I first came to the school that I'm at, teachers were a little hesitant in working with a librarian. And so I used HyperDocs and BIE, which is Buck Institute for Education, the PBL website, that really helped me get to know the standards that they're teaching and design lessons that they would actually use. So using HyperDocs and lesson ideas that I've gotten from BIE, I've been able to formulate these ready-made lessons for teachers just to get them into the library, to see the resources, to model the technology for them, to model the active use of our resources. And that's gone a long way. Robin and I have used Padlet in the past for our Future Ready series that we've been doing on Georgia Lib Chat. Padlet is amazing. You can send out a link through the link itself. You can send a QR code. Now there's this really cool thing on Padlet that you can do just by sharing. It's kind of like AirDrop on iPhones or iPads. where you can share Padlets back and forth between technology devices over the same Wi-Fi. But Padlet is like a collaborative board where you just go and add all these ideas in there. Skype in the classroom is a big one. That helps you build instructional partnerships with not only people in your building, but also with people around your area, around your country, around the world, to really help expand the learning opportunities that are there for your students. I think also building instructional partnerships is important to understand that PLNs are a part of that, where you can get feedback and ideas from your PLN, your professional learning network. And I love my Google Plus communities. And I think this is an underrated thing in education right now, where we talk about Facebook groups a lot, especially the Future Ready Librarians Facebook group. And Robin, did you know there's a secondary one now? So it's Future Ready Secondary Librarians.
No.
I thought that was so neat. That popped up.
You spring that on me tonight, so now I feel like I've learned something as well as giving out to other people. Yay! I have to look at it. I did not know that.
Yeah, so I just thought that was unbelievably interesting. But Google Plus communities, I'm part of different ones that fit different needs. So there's ones that incorporate Skype, which I love, that you can still talk about Microsoft on Google. You know, Google's not scared to do that sort of thing. But I'm going to post it on our App Smash breakdown on our, I don't know what to call it, the Google Sheet that we have going on. I'm going to post the different communities with the links to them. There's just so many that I'm a part of, it would take up too much time. But it's just a little bit of everything so that you can have access.
I think that's what you like. You're on so many, and I love it. If I start looking at them, then my ADHD kicks in, and I don't get anything else done.
Well, yeah, I'm like that too. And my husband, I can't tell you how many times he stares at me like, "Why are you on your phone?" And I was like, "I have to keep up."
I promise. Yeah, I'm not shopping.
I know. I'm not online shopping. I promise. And then the last one I wanted to share, he's yelling at me in the background, is Epic eBooks. And I know for some of our older folks, you guys have Bullet eBooks or Mac and Via, or you might have Overdrive. But I love Epic eBooks for elementary and middle school. If only for the fact that it has the collections aspect to it, because you can go in and build an entire collection of books, videos, audiobooks, read to me books, and share that with your teachers in the classroom. So if I know that my third grade teachers are learning about adaptations right now, I can put together a whole book collection on adaptations and then share that with all the teachers. And so their students using Chromebooks in their classrooms have direct access to that through Google Classroom or through the link that they share with them. And it's just been a game changer for me. So, Robin, would you like to add anything on here?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. Yeah, we all know, I think one of the hardest things for us as media specialists is getting, and also just not getting teachers not only to be involved with our media center and getting their attention and grabbing them, but also getting them to see us as more than just books, seeing us as that we are doing the technology. And then you always have those teachers like, well, who maybe aren't as comfortable. We also have technology teacher. We have we call them ITS, as our instructional technology support in the school. So these are good ways, and especially if you can already have it for the teacher, say, listen, this is already done for you. And if we can show them how easy it can be, baby steps, whatever. But this one's definitely a great wedge, but we all know that that's very hard to do. And these are great resources. Just getting, and you're not going to, as much as we want, like 100%, all of our teachers, yes, loving everything. We know that there's going to be some of those that don't, but we just continue to keep using over and over. And if they start to see, every few teachers that grab onto it, they're going to see more and more teachers using it. So don't give up. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that ripple effect. When I first came, it was maybe one or two teachers that wanted to work with me. And now I feel like it's the majority of teachers. And I'm finally getting to those teachers that are really on the struggle bus and not necessarily in a bad way, just that they're uncomfortable with technology. So the more we can do on our part to make their lives easier and show how applicable it is to them and how easy it can be, the better. So, all right, moving on, empowering students as creators. I put a quote on here, Robin and I put this quote, don't ask kids what they want to be when they grow up, but what problems they want to solve. And this just really spoke. I think it speaks to a lot of us, and why we're empowering them as creators. So if we go into understanding why we're doing what we're doing, I think it makes this particular wedge a lot easier for us. And it's difficult a lot of times, especially I can see myself as a mom wanting to step in with my daughter and my son all the time, so I get it. But just letting them have access to things and going for it. So I think under here, the apps that we were trying to focus on were not necessarily apps that they can create with, but apps that curate a lot of different things for them to be self-directed. Yeah. Does that make sense, Robin?
Yes, completely.
Okay.
Yes. So becoming trying to get them to become self-sufficient. And I know there's still some of y'all are dealing with kindergarten and first grade, but I have a third grader and a sixth grader, but they drink the Google Kool-Aid from kindergarten. I mean, we've been Google Apps for Education. My son, when he was in second grade, he was showing me Google shortcuts that I didn't even know, because he had a great an ITS at the time at the school, and who just said, you're going to learn how to type in your user ID and your passwords and drill and skill, but becoming self-sufficient with these so that they can just get. My daughter knows Symbaloo at her school. She knows where to go and the things that they have, and getting them to become not just something where, we're constantly just so that they can go to it themselves and they can become the producer. They've got the idea and they know exactly how to show it right away without us always having to have guidance for it. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the number one reason we put Symbaloo up at the top, because I really believe the more you model for your students what are good resources and reliable resources to do these types of things, I think they'll be fine the older they get. But they really need that from, like you were saying, in third grade and and all of that. And so by the time they reach high school with you, Robin, that they should be able to find these things on their own. But another part of this is the critical thinking and collaboration and real world problem solving. And I know a lot of times with Flipgrid, you go on and they're showing a math problem and how to do it. But there's a lot to Flipgrid beyond this discussion post. They have a whole discovery library now where people post really thick questions that involve research, involve problem solving. For example, there was one that I saw the other day that was fascinating. This woman, she was working in a middle school. I feel so bad I can't remember her name. I'll have to go find it and repeat it out. But that old project where you invent something new and you go through that whole financial literacy part of all that in middle school. I've seen this so many times, but instead of doing that over and over, she put on Flipgrid asking for people to give them problems, give her students problems that they need to solve with their invention. And I just thought, wow, what a really great real world activity for your students, that then they can go on Flipgrid and collaborate together, but they're working towards a real solution to a real problem. I just thought that was so neat. And then Google Classroom, and I think Google discussion boards on here as well, also offer students like that area and that they need in order to communicate, but also in a very safe environment.
Yeah.
Because we are trying to model for them, we are trying to give them a safe space to be able to make mistakes Yeah, Robin, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, everything you said is perfect. I mean, the thing I do love about Flipgrid is the fact that people can respond to that as well, and they can, they can give information. It's not just them spitting out information, but they can challenge challenges can kind of be issued, on Flipgrid. I love that Symbaloo. One thing, even at the high school age, we deal with the just being able to teaching the kids, trying to just weed out. I know a lot of people say, well, they need to figure out what good sites are out there. There is so much out there, and I always say I just like to weed the crap out. And if we can do that with Symbaloo and Galileo, I teach my high school kids to rely on Galileo I said, it's already done that job for you. Instead of Googling it, Galileo it, so that we can just make it faster and easier and safer for what they're getting. But no, these are amazing sources. You've done everything great.
Yeah. One thing I did want to add about Flipgrid too, I really could do an entire hour on Flipgrid alone. They have an expert series now. Did you know this, Robin? Where they have experts come in. They have a different theme every month. This month is music. So they have experts come in every week, post videos, and then ask the kids questions, and they go on and answer and communicate back and forth with these experts and the other students. So if you haven't checked that out.
We're still integrating Flipgrid. The high school kids are a little too cool. I wish they would adopt every time I post a questions, my teachers and my admin are the ones who usually answer, or a few of my kids. But so we're still trying to get Flipgrid.
You need incentives.
Yeah, we do.
I'll get you a gift card.
Thanks.
To like someplace cool. I don't know. I'll just think about
maybe something, but yeah.
All right. We going along with this wedge is curating digital resources and tools, and we've touched on this a little bit with the other two. We talked about Padlet, so we won't go too into depth with that. But Google Keep, if you have not used Google Keep yet, it is the best thing on the planet. I don't know why, but it's like Pinterest, except way easier to use. Yeah. And I mean, Robin, do you use Google Keep?
It's actually funny because a teacher told me about it 2 years ago, and she has since moved on. She's retired. And so I looked into it, but I've gotten back into it recently because it was one of those things where I was getting lots of tools at one time, but it's amazing.
Yeah. I hate admitting this about myself, but I'm a horrible cook. And one of the things that I've been trying to do in the new year is like that Whole30. And we did it throughout the month of January. Now we're doing the paleo stuff. And I've been keeping all that on Google Keep, and I tag it with Whole30 or paleo. And now I'm starting to use it with all the other education notes that I have. Like if I think it's great for Georgia LibChat, I'll put a tag for Georgia LibChat on it. And it's just, I love it that I have access to that on all my devices all the time. Google Forms, I put that on here because I use that for needs assessment at the beginning of every school year, and then again in the middle of the school year. Just trying to get a feel for what teachers and students need from me and the library in order for me to curate these digital resources and tools. The standards changed, and so I needed to know what they needed from me now that our standards have changed, the science and social studies standards. And then a s'more, Robin and I have done this before for Georgia LibChat, where we just, put all of our resources into one area. S'more has some pros and cons to it, so I'll let y'all just kind of play around with it and figure it out. But I like s'more for analytics. Like you can go on there and track how many people have seen it, so you can see how many people have seen your resources and if they're getting what they need from you. It's easy to share with the community.
Well, that's what our principal, when she sends out every Friday, she sends a weekly newsletter to the staff, but she also sends something out to the community, and she uses s'more for that. And she sends it to the staff first to say, here's what I'm going to send out. Is there anything you want to add or change? Kind of like proofreading it for her. But she loves it for the fact that when she sends it to the community, she can see the whole analysis, the data, we're data driven. She can see not necessarily who's been on it, but just how many people are actually seeing these resources. So, when it first started out, she may have only had 50 parents looking at it, but the more it's been pushed out and parents are like, oh, well, did you get Miss McNeil's, S'more? They don't really call it the S'more. They just, her weekly newsletter is all they call it, but still that's the format she uses, and the data that it provides is very beneficial, especially in a community type situation.
Yes, exactly. All right. So facilitating professional learning. Now, in our county, Robin did mention that we have instructional technology specialists as well as media specialists. And so together, we usually provide some type of professional learning throughout the school year. I try to do mine once a month. We call it Bagel, Books, and Bites. And I send a survey to teachers once a month through Google Forms, and I kind of just let them know what's available that I think that they've put in, and then they vote from there. And so that's kind of how I lead into our professional learning throughout the year. I try to get feedback on them. There are some times where I just throw things at them where I'm like, really would love this, please just try it. But most of the time I try to get feedback from them. And then there are days like in February or months like February where we were out for a few days and there was just so much being thrown at our teachers at once. I don't like doing it in person. So we had a virtual Bagel, Books, and Bites in February, and I used Screencast-O-Matic to record my screen. And there are other ways that you can do that. Like if you're an Apple user, you can quick time on your iPad and all the fun stuff like that. But Screencast-O-Matic for most of us using a Chromebook or a laptop is the way to go. If you're trying to teach your staff or your administration or parents anything that you want to get out quickly. I also like Google Sites just to keep track of different resources, and you'll have different tabs for technology, research, and things like that. And then GoToMeeting is a new, I know it's not new, but it's new to me. I just found out about it recently, and it was so cool that you can have up to 50 people in a meeting at once, and you can share your screens between each other and all of that. And I'm thinking how awesome that would be for one of those rare snow days in Savannah that we could have had GoToMeeting in order to do some of the professional learning. And then Google Slides on Flipgrid, we kind of talked on already. But I like the Flipgrid flipped approach. So if you're doing like a book study together, having teachers go on and review it on Flipgrid so that they don't all have to come to a faculty meeting, and you can do it at your own pace, at your own time. I really like that idea because we're talking about personalized learning. So to me, that's not just for students, it's also for teachers.
Yeah. I had a situation where I don't remember how it ended up coming, but I needed to be in two places at one time, which happens often, but a teacher needed me in actually one of our computer labs, but I also had a teacher coming into the link that his kids needed instructions with iMovie. And so I actually used Screencast-O-Matic. I had like 1 hour to figure out how I'm going to be able to get instructions to both places. So I used Screencast-O-Matic for the teacher that was actually in the link. That was going to be easier for him to pull it up. So I had it already up when the kids came in. He just had to go over to the computer and hit play. And it really I walked them through everything they needed. Now that's more for our students, not professional learning, but still, Screencast-O-Matic has so many benefits. I've even used, I know we've already in Padlet. Padlet's one of these you can use for everywhere, but just this past week, I wanted to do something different than a Google slide or my normal go-tos for professional learning. And so I used a Padlet. We got Google Cardboards. They're not that expensive. So I went ahead and said, hey, let's get 20 of these. And so we had that left in our budget for media specialists. So we got 20 Google Cardboards, and I put out a Padlet. I was like, I just want something that the teachers can see. Okay, here's what they are. Here's what virtual reality is and how we can use it, benefits of education. And then I had apps, and I put science, social studies, and the other subjects, any links I could find, I just stuck on there. So I was really surprised because I don't normally get a lot of feedback when I send out anything over email. I feel like they see my email and they just go click, delete. But this one, I actually had instantly like 6 or 7 people from very different departments. Hey, what about this? And they were already finding videos for themselves. So, you find what works. And sometimes the teachers don't like the same thing over and over, because if you use the same thing, they're like, oh, it's another one of those Padlets or whatever. So having everything, like Martha's listed all these different choices here, having a different approach, keeping it fresh, and just kind of, you'll see you get feedback better with some than others, or if you get better response with something, then go with it. But every school's different, every set of teachers is different, every media specialist is different. So just really working with these and taking your time, and again, be patient and don't give up. That's a big thing.
Yeah, I like the patience thing, because it just it does.
Yeah, there are times where you feel like you're just like, did I even hit send, because you're not getting any responses.
I know. And I like that you mentioned trying different things. Oh my goodness, y'all, my husband keeps trying to send me stuff and it's popping up on my MacBook.
I see it.
Well, I hope he doesn't send anything inappropriate, so just cross your fingers. Hush. Sorry, y'all, that was so unprofessional.
I will text him right now.
Yeah, you do that. But using different resources all the time is so important too, because our kids are the same way, and we are all like that. We hate doing the same things over and over and over and over again, because you're going to become the Padlet girl, or you're going to become the s'more girl, and it bores them after a while. So you got to keep things new and fresh, but you also have to remember that you're modeling all these tools for teachers too, so they can see how they might be utilized. But yeah, great job, Robin. Thanks. Oh, I forgot my little emoji there. Wake up, guys. I knew it was going to be like 8:30. I'm like, let's go. All right, we're getting there. So ensures equitable digital access. And this is just making sure all of our kids have access to what they should have access to, which is an education and learning experiences, period. And so I included, and Robin included, Destiny Discover. We're a Destiny County, full at Destiny. As a county level, we don't use Mac and VIA, but I've used it in the past. I don't think it's as user intuitive. Please don't hate me, Mackin, if you ever see this. But I just don't think it's as user intuitive as Destiny Discover is. And I love that Destiny Discover now has Biblionasium integrated into it, and book reviews integrated into their, I'm totally losing it, their interface. I think that's really, really important. But then we're also talking about equitable access to books. So that's why I included Epic books. If you didn't know, Epic is completely free for educators. So I looked into Overdrive for school a couple years ago, and they wanted an unbelievable amount of money that I, at a level, could not afford, and as a county level, we couldn't afford. So Epic was a really great resource for us. I may not have access to everything, but it has access to help level the playing field for our students who can't afford things in their household. So I do love Epic for that. And then Skype in the classroom. We've been talking about, in our county, poverty, and how important it is to understand where our students are coming from, and to be able to provide learning opportunities to help enrich their lives that they may not have access to at home. And Skype in the classroom does that for me. If my students do nothing else in the library, I hope that they are exposed to different perspectives and different ways of thinking, and how other people live their lives around the world. And I just think that's, in the current climate of society, the most important thing I can do. But that may be because I'm an ex-social studies person, that I look at everything through a humanities lens. But providing them equitable access to learning opportunities through Skype and those collaborations is essential. So, Robin, would you like to add anything in there?
I would just say that as much as I love Epic books, it is definitely more the elementary level. Our high school does have the overdrive, but our kids is, even though we have provided, we have the Follett ebooks, we have Gale resource online, we've got the overdrive. Our kids are just, they are ferocious readers and they want to feel and touch a real book. But so we have not had the experience, I guess, success of ebooks at the high school level that we really thought we would, because our kids are just like, nope. I mean, they physically love to come in and check out. As far as research goes, I will say that the Gale research books, ebooks that we have online, that's been very helpful. As far as the Skype at the classroom, I have a daughter who's 3rd grade who is at Martha's school now, and just to see, I guess because I have a child there and just knowing everything Martha does, the experiences they've traveled. And at the end of the year, they always like to see how many miles they've traveled. And it always just fascinates me, the experiences that they get. And that's one thing I think when I got the Google class, or the Google Cardboard, sorry, that, you know, there are Nearpod and a couple of these others, virtual reality apps and things that do provide our students. You know, I was able to show some of our social studies teachers, I mean, look, I mean, world history, or we've got an AP Human Geo class. You know, look at all these places. You're studying agriculture, then, you know, National Geographic, their app is amazing for virtual field trips. And so, yeah, you can't afford to go to India, then let's just take a virtual field trip. So these tools are amazing for providing the access that most of these kids will never get.
Oh, I love that you mentioned Google Cardboard and Nearpod. Nearpod is my next thing I really want to learn.
Yeah, I want to learn more about it.
I know. So we're going to have to do that, Robin. Oh my goodness. You really are. Yep. It's been said it will be done.
Next month will be our Twitter chat, Nearpod.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And you're right. Epic eBooks is definitely more elementary. I do have to say, the more I'm in there, the more I see some middle school level, but it's definitely on a lower middle school level. When you start getting into the advanced readers and more mature students, I definitely don't think ebooks would be for you. So I'm glad you have access to Overdrive.
Yeah, but we took the plunge. It is not cheap. So we budgeted it and got it in, and we are starting to check out more. We have whenever we have our book club each month, she makes sure that she has 3 or 4 copies, ebook copies, because ours are the limited. You know, they're not the unlimited ebooks. And so the kids enjoy having that, you know, because it's cheaper to buy the ebook than the physical copies. So it works.
And you don't have to worry about fixing them. There's so many pros to it. But then I think
like you don't have to get back in. It just checks itself back in. No late fines. But they still love to check out our books instead. So.
Well, I'm like that too. I want a physical copy. But, you know, we mentioned my husband earlier. He's an avid reader. And his is avidly reading through audiobooks. But that's because he has ADD. Like, he cannot physically,
I can't physically sit and read. If I'm listening, I can't pay attention because I'm going to be busy doing something else. I'm going to be like, what chapter am I? Like, and that's funny. Yeah, but I'm a huge, I have to have a copy because if I've tried to do audiobooks, somebody told me that helps with ADHD kids, and it was not helpful for me because I left the room and I wasn't listening anymore. So
personalized learning, it may not be for you. But yeah, I've heard that too. I cannot stand audiobooks unless I'm in the car for a long period of time and no one's talking, which with 2 kids in the back, it's not plausible. So, all right, moving on, invest strategically in digital resources. So you need to understand your school and community needs in order to build and curate these digital resources. And with our budgets the way that they are nowadays, we really have to think about what is most important to our staff and our students and be able to back up with data why it's important. So the number one thing, and I learned this from Erin Warren because I've never really used Donors Choose before, but girl has got it going on. If you have not followed her, she's at ELEM Darling on Twitter. She's amazing. But she's really big into Donors Choose and being able to fund things for her classroom. So she is a classroom teacher, but I've been able to fund things through Donors Choose because she's taught me how do you word things, how do you send them out and leverage social media for these things. And Robin, you got your breakout, right?
I had submitted a few other things for our media centers a while back. Gosh, I mean, when Donors Choose first came out, and we weren't really successful with it because at the time we didn't use the social media. We weren't hooked up to Facebook yet and getting it out. But this past year, instead of buying a breakout box from Breakout EDU, we said we'll go the route of just getting, because we didn't even know if teachers were going to use them. So I said, let's do Donors Choose, get it donated first. If teachers are using them, maybe the school will buy them. So I did two separate, and it's just follow Erin Warren because she can tell you the ins and outs of Donors Choose. So instead of saying I want 6 of these boxes and putting out this huge amount of money, I just did 2 boxes. And as soon as they were funded, I relisted that and got 2 more boxes because people saw it as a less number, a smaller amount of money. They were willing to give to that because they knew that I could get it faster, if that makes sense. So because we got 4 boxes in, our school saw and the teachers were using them. We now have 6 of the Breakout EDU boxes because we got these other ones from Donors Choose, just as good, but we just it just worked. Donors Choose, you got to use it. So good.
I can't say enough good things about it. I love it. We were able to get some Bloxels kits and different things with it, so we love it. 2 other things. I've used Tidal Wave before, the analysis, but I've really used it this year. It's part of my SMART goal. We're in TEACS this year. I'm not sure what they call it for us, but we have to provide like a goal. So I've been using my Tidal Wave analysis to kind of back up my goal for the year. And then if you look at the Google Sheet that we're going to share out, there's a link to an article about Destiny Analytics for data to share with your administration and the superintendent even, just to back up the resources that you're using. If you go in and add websites and books and all the other resources that you use within Destiny, I think that's a valuable source for data that you can use. My goal for next year is to go in and add all of our makerspace kits into Destiny, so I have data to back up that people are actually using that stuff instead of just saying, hey, they came and used it today. Now I have real hard data to back it up. So that is on the SMART sheet. I suggest if you are watching this and you think that that's an important part of your program advocacy goal, to go in and look at those 2 things: Tidal Wave analysis and cultivating community partnerships. Robin and I, we have a community partnership with the high school. I think she's amazing. I think it starts with getting to know the people in the different buildings and building that partnership between each other's schools. And then you start building out to your parents, to local businesses, and broaden that horizon a little bit. So we do that through social media apps, obviously. Like we use Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and all those things. And I've heard some good things and bad things about Snapchat. I'm big on Instagram. When I was in middle school, like using hashtags, like I think it was like a Judge Shelfie that it was a great way to connect with parents and students on promoting reading at home. But I'm a little worried about using Snapchat personally, so I'm not sure. But I've heard teachers use it and they love it, so I mean, I guess it's what you're comfortable with. But I also use Canva to create flyers and make things really nice and pretty for social media. And we mentioned more earlier,
And Canva, we just saw this week, they added a bookmark template. So Canva has tons of templates. Like if you want a Facebook cover, you know how it's the awkward kind of the letter size envelope, but a little smaller. They have templates for you. So that the sizing is everything's there. You just build it onto there, and they've got amazing free, gorgeous pictures and fonts and things like that. To make it look very, very professional. They have some too that cost, but the free ones I usually I can deal with those. But the most recent thing we saw somebody, again, post on Twitter was they have a bookmark template now. And it's so cool because, we're buying bookmarks all the time for our kids, and we would still need to print these out or whatever, or even having the kids design bookmarks, based on something they've learned that day, and, keeping it in their book. And I don't know, it's just, as little book nerds, I just loved seeing that template. And I didn't even start to create one. Well, I did, but because there were so many options, and I was so excited just to see bookmarks. I don't know. I just still like my paper books and my bookmarks.
I love it. I was really excited about that in the prospect of like the students actually creating the thing in Canva. There was something I saw, totally getting sidetracked now, but on the Facebook, the Future Ready Librarian Facebook page, someone created Harry Potter Canva bookmarks from scratch. It was the coolest thing I've seen in a while. I do want to add social media is extremely important in building community partnerships, because the more you promote your program on social media, and I hate that we're addicted to our phones, but listen, it's reality. You either accept it or you don't. And advocating for your program by showing off all the really cool things you're doing, what the kids are learning, how it's helping them, how it's helping for district goals. It's so important. Then, this community partnerships, they're like, oh, how can I help? I've heard about the Boy Scouts going in and building Lego walls in libraries, or local businesses coming in and kind of helping run the maker space. In Savannah, we have Maker Maven. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yes.
But they'll do programs. They'll come into your school and kind of help you do your needs assessment. And they're amazing guys. I went and got my specialist with the owner. He was in our instructional design course. And it's the amazing community partnership that you can have just by advocating for yourself on social media. We're doing a yoga program in April, getting kids ready for milestones.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we're stressed, okay? And our third graders, this is the first time they're seeing the test, and it's just a stressful time for everybody. And so, having a local person doing yoga and some mindfulness techniques, I think is going to be really good for them to learn how to relax and do some stretches. But all of that is building a community, and they knew that we were reputable by seeing all the programs that we've done before. So they know I'm not crazy lunatic calling her up because I want her to come in and do yoga with me. So, yeah. Robin, anything to add?
No, it's funny that you mentioned the yoga, because I actually I have longer times to be at school on Tuesday, Thursday right now, because my daughter's involved with Girls on the Run, and it's so quiet after about 3:30. My kids are starting to, most of the high school students are leaving, going to work, athletics, activities, whatever. And but I told my principal, I said, I should use that time instead of just sitting there continuing to work. And just, we have a touch screen a computer panel on the wall. I was like, I could totally put on yoga. She's like, we would all come join you. But it's a great idea to get our students involved in that. That they're, the elementary have the Georgia milestones. Our high school kids have it. They also have SAT and ACT and everything else coming up. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because we've considered starting it more for the teachers, but it's a great idea to do it for the kids too. So.
I want to do it.
I know.
Before I have someone come in and teach me, so that way I'm not looking like a complete idiot.
I just have to see if I can get my brain to stay focused.
So I know you like picture books too, Robin, with some of your students.
Yes.
There's one by Peter Reynolds.
Yep.
Who did the Dot and Ish. But it's all about yoga. And it's so good.
Oh, I see that.
I love it.
Oh, fun.
So we're getting towards the end, friends. And we're going to talk about advocating for student privacy. And that to me kind of goes along with data privacy and understanding their role in the society that we're in and protecting themselves and other people. And so that kind of goes along the digital citizenship strand to me. So we were talking about common sense media, the digital citizenship component that they have. Personally, I think that it's a little young. It's definitely geared toward elementary and middle school level. I have a really good friend up in Fulton County. She's a high school media specialist. And we had a long chat this weekend just about the lack of high school centered digital citizenship things that are out there that are really geared to the issues that high schoolers face. But I do think this is a good beginning. And then there's Nearpod digital citizenship lessons now, so you can use the VR headsets and all that fun stuff. But I also think library policies go under here. And that's not so much a resource as just something to think about, is whether or not your policies are protecting your students' data privacy. So when you're handing out fines and you're handing out what books are checked out to each student, and I'm guilty of this. When I first started as a librarian, I would send out weekly updates of what books students have checked out, and I sent those to homeroom teachers because they need to know what books are overdue and things like that. But that goes against students' data rights, right? Because let's be honest, in today's society, this is going into a very deep, dark discussion, but in today's society, there are a lot of issues our students are facing that they have access to think about by checking out books from our library. I'm just going to throw out Love, Simon out there right now. And if you haven't heard about this book, it is an amazing, amazing book. But it deals with homosexuality. And if I had a boy check that out in my library, because he's going through those things right now, and I sent that to his homeroom teacher, and we all know teachers try to do the best that they can be, but if they could be jaded a little bit towards that student, or that student may be embarrassed being called out in the middle of class, hey, so-and-so, where's the Love, Simon? Like, we don't want to call kids out because that's going to make them cringe. They're not going to want to come back to the library and learn, and they're going to feel betrayed. So we just need to think about our library policies and how we're talking about equitable access along with student privacy and how that fits in. Just throwing that out there.
I totally agree.
So,
it's a fine line because we just had somebody a question to come across. I don't know if it was GLMA, but one of our Georgia emails that we get, everybody sends out to web services. And so they were asking about how we do, notify students because, if we're sending it to the homeroom teachers or whatever, and they're seeing it, we don't think about sending out late notices being an invasion of privacy, but it can be. So, we've had trouble with that and just trying to find the best way to do that. And I'll mention too, Common Sense Media. I looked into doing this last year. I even did a lunch and learn for our teachers because at my school, we're really, really big and there's a certain amount of students you have to get to become Common Sense Media certified. And I really wanted that for us, but it is a lot of it. Well, it's just another, most of my teachers saw it as another thing that they had to do because you do have to get teachers to be willing to give you their classes to work with. But it also, there's some really great posters that were geared towards high school kids, but some of the material, I knew these kids were going to look at it and just go, whatever, Miss Thompson. And so either revamping some of it or just trying to find ones that I think, are cool enough for them. But that's kind of the reason they need it in the first place, because they're just too cool and they don't need to worry about digital citizenship. So, but it is a really good source, and I still use it just for my own elementary age children before we go see a movie or, if there's a TV show, because it gives you really good feedback on reviews and what all it entails. So.
I agree. I really like it for book reviews too, just to see, because I push limits on books sometimes, maybe when I shouldn't. But middle grades and young adult are two very different things. So I like going on and reading reviews and what parents think about books before I label it like for young adult or middle grade. So, great ideas there, Robin. All right, and last but not least, leading beyond the library, we've talked in depth about how important our Georgia Lib Chat is to just advocating for our profession in Georgia. I think that's something we mention every month we do this. But any Twitter PLN that will help you become better is important. So you find it. If it's Texas Lib Chat or if it's Future Ready Libs or whatever it is, find something, find your tribe, find your people, and you hold on tight to them, because they're the ones that are going to help you and challenge you and tell you when you're crazy and that it's okay. I think that's important. TweetDeck, if you haven't heard of it, I use TweetDeck all the time. Maybe not for Georgia Lib Chat. We tend to have very close-knit group here. But on like our Flipgrid Fever, OMG, if you have never been in a Flipgrid Fever chat, it is crazy busy. So having TweetDeck just to go through everything is really important. GoToMeeting, we use this in GLMA all the time to meet together and just learn from each other. Robin, I think we need to use this the next time you can't make it to a meeting.
Okay.
It might make life a little bit easier for you. And then Flipgrid.
Happens all the time.
I know, it's okay. And then Flipgrid, there is Mrs. B something something on Twitter. I saw this front. She does a Flipgrid Lib Chat every month. I just thought that was neat. She posts a question and librarians post on it. I think she has a very close-knit following as well, but I think I'm going to share that out because I think it's important to understand, like, there are different ways to connect, and Flipgrid is starting to be one of those ways. So if you guys have any ideas on what we can add to our app Smash a Breakdown, we'd love to hear from you, what your favorite apps are. Go to this collaborative app, GHTTPS:/, is that a colon? //boo.gl/VIAPK.
Yes.
And then keep in touch with us. I'm Martha, and Robin has been joining us. And these, I mentioned earlier, her link to her website for the link is awesome. You need to go check it out. Her design space.
It needs to be updated. I'm sorry, it's not updated, but you will see good things about how we created the link.
Yes. And Robin, don't beat yourself up. I read the Daring Librarian has a really good blog post on how it's okay not to blog.
Oh, gosh.
So don't feel bad. I don't keep mine updated very often either. I'm too busy. All right. So I think that's it, friends. Let me scroll back over here and stop the infinite death. There we go. Okay, Robin, I'm sorry. That went a little over our hour limit, but go catch your husband, make sure his truck is okay.
I will. Head to the shop now.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Robin. And friends, make sure you share on our collaborative app sheet. So bye, guys.
Bye, guys.